Hebrews chapter 8, verse 7. The Bible tells us that for if the first covenant had been faultless, then no place would have been sought for a second. The Bible is making it plain to us that indeed, when we check through the Old Testament, there were certain things that they were doing in the Old Testament that initially wasn't the right thing that God was indeed expecting them to do. We can see of the Pharisees how they were upholding to the laws, but they themselves were not practicing the things of the law. So, one thing that we are just drawing your attention to today is that it might be difficult for you to understand all the things that we are talking about. Probably you are obeying all the 10 commandments. You are not stealing because you find it in Exodus chapter 20 that do not steal, right? But today we are telling you that when we check through the Old Testament, all the commandments that we find in the Old Testament, that today in our time, probably we are not doing it. It is not necessarily because the Old Testament said that we shouldn't do that. That is the reason why we are not doing it today in our time. No. If you search through the New Testament, we are having a lot of laws, a lot of covenants, a lot of rules that God is expecting us to obey. So we take our commandments from the New Testament and not of the Old Testament. So first of all, we do not steal, not necessarily because the Old Testament tells us not to steal. No, because the New Testament admonishes us not to steal. That is the reason why we do not steal. So we do not covet, not necessarily because the Old Testament in the 10 Commandments tells us do not covet. That is the reason why we do not covet. No. The New Testament admonishes us not to do that.